I find it fascinating how garbage that we are in terms of understanding how difficult things are going to be in our life. And I think a lot of it actually comes down to language. And I'm specifically thinking about research careers. And almost everybody goes into a research career thinking it's going to be easy, and they're going to be the one exception where it all works out for them. And then you get into it and you realize, oh my gosh, this is very, very difficult to actually do. And they're dumbfounded. And it doesn't matter who you're talking to. I go through this on a regular basis. I think, well, it's easy, just write this up. Or it's easy, just do this software thing. Or it's easy, just have this explanation and everybody's gonna understand it. And I think, oh my gosh, after I do it, I think, oh my gosh, this is taking me a heck of a lot longer than I ever thought it's going to take. Nobody understands what I'm actually talking about because they're unwilling to go down that path of learning it themselves. And I have to sit here and walk everybody through in terms of getting them from here to there. And that includes myself, from getting me from here to there. And I am almost always incorrect on how difficult things actually are. I think it's absolutely fantastic that we have these poor judgments of the future. And I want you to sort of think about all these kind of things. It's very simple, right? There's often these simple things. Well, just lose weight. It's easy to lose 20 pounds, isn't it? It's easy for me to actually say this until you actually go through and try to lose those 20 pounds. And you'll realize that there's all this mental anguish that goes on, and you don't know what is the right thing that you should do at any given moment, and you're suffering, and it just feels horrible. And the whole process is just a grind. Now, the same thing with learning a language. Well, just learn a language. That's easy until you actually do it. And you go through and you realize, oh my gosh, everybody quits this thing. So I want you to sort of think about this. You know, how do we navigate these issues? And you're going to experience this if you go in, particularly if you go into a research career. Nobody understands the career from the outside in. They just don't, until you've actually tried to do it, and you've done it for 10 years, but then after that, you've done it for 10 years and everybody thinks that you are somehow different from them and they can't relate to you, so you can't communicate your message, and nobody understands what you're actually talking about. It's a really fascinating dynamic that I could talk about this day and night, the sort of challenges that you go through and the mental anguishes that you go through. But you're all going to discount me because I am a professor. And especially now that I got tenure, it's, oh, this person's a tenured professor. They don't know anything. They're completely clueless from reality. This whole dynamic, it is such a fascinating thing that it almost seems like life repeats itself over and over and over again. So what can you do, right? I'm just lamenting in the sort of challenges of communicating and going through these things. I think the easiest thing, so for me, I always assume everything's going to take much, much longer than I ever think it's ever going to take now. And so if I think it's going to take a year, I now know it's probably going to take me 10 years. And when I say it's going to take 10 years, nobody believes me. The irony of it all. If I am thinking about going into an area now, I now am more inclined, even though I still don't do this, but I'm more inclined to just look at the evidence, the actual statistical evidence, the number of people that have tried, and the number of people that made it to the other side, the number of people that have a quote unquote profitable life, however you're going to measure that. Maybe you measure happiness or something like that if they're pursuing a particular area. or you measure the income that they actually have, and actually measure these things and look at them statistically, like just sample. So that's all you have to do is sample and do a collection of, even if you just asked 5 people and you got their honest views, which, those 5 people, I understand, they might not tell you their honest views, so maybe you get 10. And then you look for those outliers of where people are truthful to you and they are actually telling you the truth, and sort of the challenges of these things, right? If you were to talk to a fitness influencer about losing weight, they're all going to tell you it's easy. But if you talk to a legit person that is struggling with losing weight their whole life, they're going to tell you that it is a difficult thing and that it's mentally taxing. And there's not a quick win. There's not a right way that you actually can do this. And it's just, just grinding effort every day, right? I want you to sort of think about the reality of things. I want you to take a real honest view of this. Now, another sort of clue to look and to understand how challenging things are, I want you to think about the heroic nature of things and the heroic nature of individuals. Let me explain by this, right? So some places, in some areas, you often hear about a hero that has fought all odds. When we think in science, we often think about Einstein, for example, right? Like Einstein was this genius and he sort of fought all of the odds and still made it and did all this stuff. But I want you to think about that is the exception, and the reason why this story gets told about he was a patent clerk and he ended up, working his way up by sort of just being a sheer genius is because that was a spectacular outlier. And we love to tell that story of the outlier out of the thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people that have tried before and never really got there. And so we venerate and we think about these sort of heroic people that are in that particular area, right? We think about Gandhi, for example, because that person changed the way that we thought about things and used peaceful methods to actually get there. And yet there was many other people that have tried the same thing and they didn't get there. They were persecuted or thrown into jail and all of those kind of things. I want you to think about that before you start things. Is think about the heroic nature of individuals and the stories that we actually tell. Think about the context behind the stories that we actually tell. And that usually gives you a clue on how challenging things actually are. And when you have a conversation with people and they start telling heroic stories about this person made it and look at how wonderful that they actually are, it should be a clue that, that conversation, just that this person made it, is usually the sign that this is going to be very, very difficult. And I should pay attention to that and understand that this process is going to be very hard. It's going to be the same thing as what it feels like if you're not naturally born thin, what it's actually like to lose weight. Now, it might be, so pick your thing, right? So maybe you're naturally thin. Well, maybe you don't like speaking in front of people. Pick that and have that conversation. Do I feel like I am going to speak in front of people every single day? And, if the answer is no, that's what the struggle is going to be like. It's cognitively taxing and difficult to actually do. So I want you to go and think about this and frame the problem appropriately. Look at real data. What is the likelihood of somebody actually succeeding? And then frame the difficulty in something that is challenging in your life that you can relate to. And when you get there and you sort of put those all into perspective, you'll know what it's going to be like to go into that particular arena of your life. And then hopefully you'll be more empathetic. Hopefully you'll be more you'll understand people more and you will give them more credit and really pay attention to what they're actually saying. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye.